What's going on, people? Welcome to 27 Works, and this is the latest flagship from Ferrari. It is the latest in the lineage from, we're talking going back to the F40, the F50, the Enzo, the LaFerrari, and now we have this. It's an absolutely crazy machine according to some of the videos that I watched today from the likes of Chris Harris, Top Gear, Ben Collins, aka the previous Stig from Top Gear, and a couple of others that I kind of skimmed through. It's supposed to be absolutely insane. So if this mod can get anything close to giving us that experience, I'll be really happy. Let's get into it. This is basically, as I said, the new top of the line from Ferrari, basically, as far as the road cars go. It is the replacement for the LaFerrari, which again is part of the Holy Trinity. It has all that kind of mystique about it. It is like the great-great-grandson of the F40. It's that kind of like iconic lineage that we all know. But it's a break. It's a break from tradition. The LaFerrari really broke the kind of mold as far as like introducing the hybrid as opposed to just kind of standard ICE internal combustion engines. This now is taken into another kind of, a lot of people will say worse place, but you know, it's remained to be seen. A lot of the reviews so far have been absolutely glowing and have not mentioned this aspect that I'm about to talk about, taking away like anything as a major negative. If you don't know, the Ferrari F80 is a V6 hybrid. According to Wikipedia, it's derived from the 499P Le Mans car. So very good heritage, like, you know, Le Mans winner, dominating car in the WEC. And I think to a lot of people that's really sad. And like, you know, the purist in me is quite sad about it, I will admit. Like, I'm not too bothered as long as the cars are good. It doesn't really matter what exactly makes them up. But there is, again, there is that purist streak in me that's just like, it is kind of sad to see the end of an era kind of thing. It reminds me always of that Jeremy Clarkson, I think it was the last episode of one of the seasons of Top Gear, where he's reviewing an Aston Martin, I think it was a V10 or V8 Vanquish, one or the other. And they used the song An Ending by Brian Eno. And it's this just beautiful ode to that generation of like the last of like just that being how cars were. They were V8s, V10s, V12s, whether they were turboed or naturally aspirated. That was it. That's how you power a car and got it very, very fast, was just a huge engine and potentially like big turbos on it and stuff like that. And Jeremy Clarkson, just did that little kind of ode to the end of that era once the idea of like kind of hybrids and electric cars started coming in. And I always think about it when you know, with the likes of the LaFerrari and the McLaren P1 and the Porsche 918, and seeing how kind of everything is headed that way, and like, you know, you don't get V8s anymore, you get V6s and V6 turbos in general kind of in supercars nowadays. And like, even with like, you know, when a brand like Lamborghini is getting into that, is going down that path, you know, that's just the way it's going. We can't fight it anymore. Like, Lamborghini are going down that path with the Temerario and the Revuelto. They're hybrid. They are, I think they're still V12 if I remember right. I should know that. I did do a video on a mod for the Revuelto. I'll leave it in the description. Card in the corner if that's anyone interested. Yeah, no, it is to a certain degree. It is kind of something that you could be purist about and be kind of sad. But that said, as I keep saying, the reviews so far that I've seen from like really well knowledgeable, well respected journalists, like again Chris Harris, Ben Collins, the guys at Top Gear, it is absolutely fantastic. It's got closer to 1200 horsepower between the turbocharged V6 and the 3 motors. I think there's one in the front and 2 in the rear. The big thing that was driven home in a lot of the videos that I've seen with this car is that it's supposed to be just the most technologically insane car that Ferrari have ever made. Like, it's so loaded full of tech, active aero, active springs, or active suspension I should say, just so much race inspired technology essentially. There's just so much going on there as far as all the physical stuff with the body, the engine stuff, the powertrain stuff, and then just again like all the computers doing all the work and everything. It's supposed to be just an absolute blast. But as far as how does it look, that's another thing. Again, Ferraris, they're known for their beauty. Mixed for me. A lot of the more very recent Ferraris, like the Ferrari 458 Italia for my money, is one of the most beautiful cars ever made. It's up there with just timeless perfection to me. And the 488 that came next was just kind of, you know, slight iteration and variation on that. Not quite as good as in my opinion. I think they perfected it with 458. Everything that's come since then, the 296 and the F8 Tribute and stuff like that, all been very good looking. It's when they get to the higher end, kind of crazier concept cars, that they kind of get a bit interesting. They try to do some different stuff. Like the LaFerrari looked really cool, but it also looked really big. It was the same like the Enzo back in the day. When they do the big kind of crazy top of the line mad just out there cars, they can be a little bit, you know, you can be a bit love them or hate them sort of thing. I'm right there in the middle on this one. I think aspects from certain angles, and particularly with the wing when it comes up, very cool looking, really cool looking car. But then there's just some other weird little things, like it looks like, Joe, do you remember back in the day when cars would have the bonnet bra as part of like the styling? So that black part at the front, now again, I'm sure you can get it without it, but by default the Assetto Corsa livery or Rosso Scuderia, whatever livery, that colour that I picked there, has it enabled. And it's just a bit, again, it just reminds me like old VWs from like 2008 or 2009 or whenever that rat dub thing was like a trend. But otherwise, generally, again, you have to, it's got the general overall Ferrari look. It looks mean and aggressive, and when it's in motion and when you see it in motion on a video on a track and stuff like that, it actually does look quite cool. Again, particularly when that rear wing comes up, it's just very different. And for this to be, again, not a weird concept, not a weird like one-off like some of the other cars that I mentioned earlier, or like some of the other Ferraris that you might have seen over the years that have like some weird styling choices, this is the car. This is going to be like the top of the line. If you want the ultimate Ferrari, over £3 million or dollars or whatever I think it was, this is the one that you buy and you will own and you will drive and stuff like that. So it's kind of, it's interesting. That's enough about the car. I think it deserved its intro considering kind of what it is, being the next flagship Ferrari sort of thing. So I gave it a bit of a longer intro there. If you don't know what we do here, we are going to now, this is a VR mod review. So first things first, we're going to do a little beauty montage where I find some of those nice angles that I talked about and just slip a few beauty shots into like a little montage there for a couple of seconds. And then that will lead us out onto the track where we are going to do one single lap from scratch of the Nürburgring. It is not setting a lap time. It is not about my skill as a driver. It's just basically, let's sit down into this car, have a look at it, as I said, in VR. Does it pass the kind of visual test? Does everything look good? Does it have detail? Like, do the textures look good? Does it have ambient occlusion and some shading and some high quality like visuals for you to enjoy in VR? And does it sound good? Again, with this V6 turbo, I've seen again in videos, it does actually sound pretty cool. The car has literally only just been kind of like properly put out there with all these videos yesterday, today as I record this. So I don't imagine whoever made this mod, again I can't remember, I will leave a link as always in the description to it, but whoever made it, I don't imagine they would have had access to the actual sound, so it's probably just some generic V6 turbo hybrid sound from something. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So if that sounds interesting, stick around and I will meet you on track. Okay, so here we are inside the cockpit of the Ferrari F80, and in many ways it's very familiar. There's a lot of kind of like the shape of the vents is the kind of the air vents is the first thing that I noticed. That's very Ferrari-esque. That kind of harkens back a little bit to the 458 and stuff. Interesting shaped wheel, very oblong. We've got all the buttons there. I'm interested by the gated look down here. What's that about? I'll have to do some research afterwards and find out why there's a gated shifter and looking thing down there. This is a problem that a lot of AC mod cars have. Everything's shiny inside the car, so there's like detail. I can see the carbon and it's all like, you know, it's not terrible at all by any means, but why is everything shiny? Why can I see the little hood there through as if there's nothing between the two of them, as if there isn't a car, like the footwell? Like, I've never understood what that thing is about the modern pipeline about Assetto Corsa, where a lot of these cars reflect the outside rather than the inside. But otherwise, that being the main issue, like there isn't great kind of ambient occlusion and shading, so it loses some points on that. But you know, the mirrors work, all three. It does feel like I'm in this kind of like tight and closed cockpit type thing that this car has. The steering wheel, actually, I've just realised, uses some actually pretty poor quality. The images are obviously, I guess, just like taken from a picture of the wheel and stuck on as opposed to like maybe crafted from scratch. Which, you know, look, it's a nitpick. You're not going to be looking down at the steering wheel in a simulator. But it would just be nice to see that level of detail. So that's the look. So let's give it the sound test and see how it sounds. Fine. Fine. That's the best way I can put it. It's not terrible, it's not great, it's not the most amazing thing I've ever heard. It's also not by any means the worst I've ever heard, so. There is like a difference between when you're like really accelerating and also fully accelerating. So that's like mostly there, like 80-90%. And that's full. So there is a difference. So there is like attention to detail is paid, so that's always nice. And then as we do, we shall listen to it from the outside. That sounds a lot better, a lot more of that meaty kind of throatiness. Yeah, a little bit of that lower note that should be. But that's about it. I think there is only one thing left to do. Let us head out now and get going. Oh my, okay. It feels interesting already straight away, even being fixed. I think when I saw it, it looked about 9 and a bit thousand revs. As usual, I take the very first kind of initial part of this lap quite, I always say the word gingerly, for lack of a better term. because I just don't know what the car is doing, and I don't want to completely bin it before we even get started, sort of thing. So, great traction though. Great traction. You can just basically put the foot down. Now, one thing that I did notice is that I think it was Chris Harris, Ben Collins, sorry, said you basically can't lock the brakes in this car. I'm not finding that so far. The brakes are not performing terribly well. They are locking very easily. He specifically pointed out that whether you have ABS on or not, they're basically impossible to lock up, and I'm not finding that to be the case. So, but again, the grip is just ungodly. It does not, like, I'm actively trying to make it spin its tires and kind of like oversteer. It's not going at all. I'm also forgetting my line around the Nürburgring here because I'm trying to... Oh, that's brilliant. That is very good. You can see the wing is up in the back there, so... I don't think this will be flat. Oh, Jesus, definitely not. Oh, on the grass a little bit. Yeah, a little lift off is definitely required there. I'm happy I didn't try it flat. That would put me right into the wall. It's a little softer than I was expecting. Very fast though, as you can imagine. Oh, yeah, quite soft. Quite a lot of body roll. Again, it's made up by the fact that it almost literally does not lose grip. It's a very interesting feeling car to say. Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh my god, okay. I love that section. Yeah, there's a lot of, like, the nose dips down quite a bit as you approach the inside, or as you approach the corner when you start the brakes pretty hard. Oof. Now, again, as I always say, this is just a review of this mod of this car. I'm sure they had no information to work off of that was actually legit, and this is just their best effort. So that's why, like, I'm not saying, you know, this is what this car feels like. Oh. Again, it's that comparison. It's why we do these videos. It's like, okay, how does the mod hold up to what, number one, you would think, and number two, like, we know now that the videos have started coming out from the people that I've mentioned a couple times before. Oh, the brakes are not holding up well at all. Although I will say that's one of the things that I have noticed about this this format of the way that I do things. I probably should not give you the first blind lap, because this is, oh, this is miss, hang on. How many attempts do I want? Oh my god. Yeah, I've found when I do laps, particularly on this track, it's not usually until around just after the start of the second lap that the brakes kind of come up to temperature and start to actually function. So I think I often complain about, like, brakes not being great when I do these mod review videos, and it's just purely because I think that they are not up to temperature. It takes roughly a lap to get to up to temp. But I'm feeling kind of, again, believe it or not, despite what you're seeing on the screen, I do think this is actually, I'm kind of going to get the grips with what the car is and how to drive it. So maybe not the gear and just say, oh, I always forget this corner. Please brake, please brake, please brake, please brake. Oh, that was some furious attempts to not hit the wall there. Jesus. That's a little lift there, which I didn't expect. Again, it's interesting. You can feel the downforce gluing you to the track. How did I not hit the wall? Yeah, you can definitely feel the downforce gluing you to the track. But it's, again, it's the softness. The suspension is oddly bouncy. Which, again, I don't know if it's that way in the real car, but... No, there's a wall. I knew it. That can be flat out in certain cars. There's a couple of Porsches that I've driven recently around the 911s that it's absolutely flat out in, but not quite the way in this one. But it's an interesting driving experience. It's just so much softer. The suspension is so much softer than I would have expected. But then the downforce, there's a weight to the steering as well. Like, it's a very hard turn. It's very hard to turn the steering wheel, like, do you know what I mean? Again, this can be flat in certain cars. I don't think it is in this one though. It's also got great lift-off turn-in. As soon as you lift off... Oh, actually got a tiny bit of oversteer there. Yeah, it's got good lift-off turn-in. If you don't think that you're quite making it, just letting off and just letting it turn itself in a little bit. We should be changing up here, but I'm distracted by talking and this insane complex. But yeah, no, I'm finding that it's got like, it's not, I wouldn't call it understeer, but it does kind of want to push out a little bit, and just easing off. Oh, I forgot where we were here. Just easing off for a second allows it to come back around. But again, the grip is just nuts. As we enter YouTube corner, say hello everybody. Could have gotten out a little bit wider there, but you look. And again, that diving, that nose diving that it does when you hit the brakes, as a result of the brake of the suspension being so relatively soft. Oh, Jesus. The world's craziest roller coaster. Oh my, okay, very intense. Yeah, it's it's a handful. Oh, as we hit the grass. But it's very fast as well. That's another thing, is I don't realise how fast I'm going until I look down the speed. I'm like, oh yeah, that's nearly 200 kilometers an hour. Okay, grand. Or miles per hour even. Or is it kilometers? It's hard to say. Kilometers, apparently. As we head into the last little section here, I will just say this thing is cool. It's not I'm trying to decide, is it everything that I kind of expected it to be? It's definitely the handful that I thought it'd be, but it's not maybe as planted, just with that soft suspension. But on the flip side, it is, because of that the grip and the downforce. So it's a weird kind of mismatch in your brain, but it's really good. And again, it's fast. It's still going. Can we hit 200 before we? No. Okay. Yeah, no, I do try. I get torn between trying to reach the top speed before having to stop and trying to make it before the speed limiter kicks in. Just sending it. So I went with the latter there. But yeah, no, that's very interesting. I would love to see, again, because I don't recognize the people that made this mod. I can't remember what to call them. MPG mods, maybe. They're not a studio, if you want to call them that way, or like a mod house that I'm familiar with, or like a modding team or group, whatever, that I'd be terribly familiar with. So I can't speak to their quality per se. Hang on, let me just get the headset off while I finish up the video here then. Yeah, it's like with all these mods that I do videos of, most of the time I don't really recognize name unless it's RSS or URD or something like that, like one of the big ones. I won't necessarily always recognize who they're done by, so you have to just trust and hope for the best that they're aiming to make it as close as possible to the real thing based on the information available. Then I just basically, as I keep saying, it's by then my expectations. It's like based on the videos that I've seen, based on the information that we have, what we know about it. Does it live up to that? And I have to say, overall yes. I was very surprised by how soft the suspension was. I just thought, because of all the active suspension and stuff like that. Now there is a thing, and I forgot to say this earlier on, there is limitations within Assetto Corsa. I don't know how up to date Assetto Corsa, and like with even though I've got CSP installed, I don't know how up to date their systems are to allow and support active aero and active suspension and stuff like that. It could be just a case of that's just not possible. I know, for example, there is a Gordon Murray T50 mod. The T50 uses the fan. It's the fan car basically. Assetto Corsa just isn't built to simulate that. So I think when somebody makes a mod of that, I think they've just used like excessive downforce in, like they've just put a wing in the middle of the car or something like that and added excessive downforce that way to kind of simulate it. I'm wondering if it's the same sort of idea here, where it's basically like, you know, they can't necessarily fully recreate the actual kind of suspension and all the computer work going on and everything. So you're left with just the best kind of estimate of what it'd be like without all that sort of thing, maybe. Which I found to just be a little bit, as I kept on saying throughout the lap, just a little bit soft, very nosedive. You hit the brakes, which were, again, they were probably cold, so the brakes themselves weren't great. So when you get that combination, it made entering into corners not great, but then you get the combination of the great grip and the fact that it just won't slide and the downforce. It's very solid through the corners then, and particularly on the exits of corners, stuff like that. It's very, I've got a lot of confidence in it in the exit of the corners, which is interesting. But also it did have that little mystery element to it. But yeah, that's pretty much everything that I can say. Again, it's just, that's my first impressions, man. There's a lot going on, you're going so fast, it's the Nürburgring, so there's a lot going on. So I might not have necessarily verbalized everything that way that I wanted it, despite how much I've rambled. I know this is probably going to be a longer one, but again, this car, if any of them deserves it, it is the new top of the line Ferrari. So that's about it. If you enjoyed it, please do leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new here. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.